My name is Jill Valentine. I serve the BSAA as a counter-bioterror operative. We've lost contact with Chris, and I've gone into the heart of the storm to find him.
Resident Evil Revelations. I mean, man, this is like the second game that I played where they have a Resident Evil title that has Shun in it. Like, I played this, which is Revelations. Then I played one called Degenerations. I'm waiting for the one that takes place during the Civil Rights March called Resident Evil Desegregation. We have got to get away from these zombies. But man,
I actually had a problem. I was looking at this and I forgot what the hell it was called, and I started to do searches, and I kept finding different Resident Evil games with the names I was searching on. Like, I was like, is it Resident Evil Memories? And then there was one called that, and I was like, oh, that's not it.
What? Resident Evil Memories?
Yeah, like there was some pictures and everything, and there was a description about it. I mean, there's been so many Resident Evils at this point that I was just completely pulling up a blank on what the heck it was that I was playing, and when I was doing searches, and then it was I had to go and type in 3DS, and then I was like, oh, all right, here it is.
Resident Evil Memories. I thought that was like a photo scrapbook, like you go to somebody's house and they pull out the book and okay, now this is where the zombie bit my hand.
I was like, this is me and the zombie going to prom, and picking me up on the first date,
I know, yeah, this is when Billy was just turned into a zombie. Isn't he cute? Memories. Resident Evil memories. But, man, you know what? I have to say, for a 3DS game, this is pretty kick-ass, man.
Yeah, man, that's what I was thinking. I really enjoyed this game.
Yeah, I haven't played too many 3DS games. I tell you what, it is a far cry from that bullshit that the 3DS first pulled out. All those things like the submarine game that we got, and all this, that paper airplane game we play. I mean, I had really lost faith in the 3DS. I didn't think the 3DS was capable of doing anything but little bullshit games. But this pushes the system. I don't think you're going to find anything close to this for a while on the 3DS.
No. In fact, a lot of people, they talk about how they don't like the new style of Resident Evil on the consoles, and this has a nice feeling of the old style with enough new stuff in it that I just really found it enjoyable. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what it is about it, but it just had nice pacing and everything. I felt like I was back to searching the mansion and fighting the aquatic zombies in this case, or whatever the hell they're called.
And it has a real feeling of claustrophobia that was going on in the original games. Like, what happened in the original Resident Evil is that you went down these small corridors and all these hallways where you didn't have too much room to move it. You got attacked by a creature or a zombie. And then even in Resident Evil 2, it's like the whole city was built for skinny people.
Right.
It's like, don't try to run down an alley from a zombie if you're overweight, because you're not going to make it. But in this game, most of it takes place on a deserted cruise ship.
Yeah, and it's got like a the old games had that fixed camera angle where you would enter a room and you could only see it from the one angle. This doesn't have that, but at the same time, so you can freely look around a room, but it's still if you're in a room with a zombie or whatever, it's completely like what Corey's saying. You're just locked in, there's nowhere to go.
Oh yeah.
You gotta fight it out or do a lot of dodging or something.
Yeah. Okay. So, now, you play a lot of characters in this game, and
yes.
On the Queen Zenobia, you get this distress signal, and you start playing the game as Jill Valentine. Everybody recognizes Jill Valentine. And these games always introduce some new characters we haven't seen before. So she's hanging out with some fathead Frenchman. Did you notice how is he French or is he Spanish?
I thought he was Russian. I mean, I didn't know what he was.
It's the sound in the game is great, but I couldn't figure out this accent. Call me stupid. I don't know what the fuck he was. All I knew is that he had a fat head. Did you see how fat that guy's head was?
I guess the FBC couldn't cover up a mess this big, huh?
Anyone who knows what happened here is going to put two and two together.
And that's why I've sent the BSAA in to investigate. Did you pick up your new equipment from Quint?
The, Genesis, something. Is that its name?
You didn't bother to read the manual, did you?
No, I brought it with me, just in case.
I hope you read quickly, because you're gonna need it on your mission.
Yeah, I'm on it.
I wasn't sure if like he was on my side at first or what was going on. You kind of start off that mission and he's there, and I mean they don't really explain like the relationship that you have with him or anything. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was a little bit gray for me right there in terms of who that guy even was. You know?
Yeah. You're going to get introduced to other characters in the game, like Chris Redfield comes in later, and he has a partner that we hadn't really seen before, some fine ass chick, and that. You know, what really matters is the different settings that they put him in. Like when you play Chris Redfield, you have a part in the game where you're running through like these snow, very cold type areas, and when you're with Chris Redfield in these areas, like you're going through and you're fighting mutated dogs and
investigating that plane crash that had gone down and everything.
Yeah, and even there's a point when you return to play Jill Valentine, the game skips time and you go off into a part of the story earlier where you're trying to clear this building of these big lizard creatures, and those parts are fun, they're cool, and I'm not a person who keeps harping on the game having to go back to the horror roots. I don't mind the action part so much, but in this game, the action parts really don't feel all that great. They just feel kind of routine. It's the part where you are in the Queen Zenobia in this game that feels really cool. I mean, look, I don't know how many times I tell you the way this returned me to the original roots of Resident Evil. I'm that guy that gets scared when I see a creature coming out of nowhere, and I start fumbling around with the controls because I'm trying to run and I don't know what I'm doing. And I get stuck and end up getting attacked. And that game really does that. Like you'll come into an area where you'll see around the corner a creature. And then you'll turn around and all of a sudden there's another creature that came out of nowhere in the area that you just came in. So you have no true escape route and you have to fight. And you have to fight in these really tight confines. And the game does very well at giving you just this sense of panic sometimes.
Yeah, you feel immersed in it a little bit, like it's really happening. It's not like you just have a monster pop up behind you a la Doom 3 or something. I mean, these things sort of... they creep up on you, and you really have to be. You might be in a room with the door closed, like a bathroom or something, and you're just kind of looking around and stuff, and then you'll hear something on the other side of the door, and you open it up, and there's a creature in there, and then it's like it's on.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and when you and like I say, there was one moment where I just dropped the 3DS and just ran out the room. Fuck this. But you mentioned how you hear creatures coming around the corner, and the game, play with headphones because it gives you an almost surround sound type experience. They do a great job with the sounds in this game. There's one point where when you come upon certain bosses and creatures, you'll hear them from far away, and you'll know dangers around the corner because if you get closer, it plays with the proximity of the sound. You hear them like right behind the doors, you get closer to it, or you hear them right around the corner. There was one part in the game where you remember that dude there's one part in the, and this is what's cool about the game in the graphics is that you run into humans that get turned into creatures, and they'll just start yelling from afar, and they're messed up. Right. There was one part in the game where a guy was locked in a room and he kept yelling, "Mayday, Mayday!" And I was like, "Wow, I hope that guy has a really bad hangover because if not, he's fucked up. He's some hideous creature, and you get nervous when you approach those things because they play with the sound so well, and."
Yeah, and they have that camera too in this game. It's kind of like they're doing a little bit of Fatal Frame going on, where you have to inspect the rooms by using this camera to zoom in on basically clues or items that you'll find in the game. So like you'll enter a room and you'll switch to this camera mode, and you have to like swing it around, and you're searching the room, and you might suddenly get surprised by a zombie doing that.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the Genesis scanner.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the Genesis scanner is cool because it, like Kevin was saying, it really does make it makes use of of the environments around you other than just wandering into them. You have to investigate the room too, because you might be running low on ammo, which is another great thing about the game, is that, you know, it returns you to that place where ammo is scarce. Now, apparently ammo ain't that scarce because somebody who needed it just left that shit lying around, you know. But the ammo is scarce, and you're going to have to make use of your Genesis scanner to see if you can find hidden objects, including ammo. Listen, I got big hands, all right? And if you got fat hands, I don't know what to tell you. Go on a diet or something if you want to play this game, because that's one of my biggest complaints about the controls. The controls go back to there is such a thing as going too old school with this, and they've returned to those tank controls that everybody hates. You know what I mean?
Well, tank controls, I'm not sure what you mean by that, no.
Basically, where you're doing the robot everywhere you go. You can't walk and shoot at the same time. You have to stop, pull out your weapon.
Yes.
You know, you have to kind of stand in the middle of the room and, you know, turn around like you're doing the do-si-do or something. You know what I mean? It's hard to maneuver in this game still, and that is something I don't want to hear that from people when they say, "Oh, but that just adds to the tension of the." No, all right, goddamn it, it's a flaw in the game. Fix it, all right. You know, it's not going to hurt the game that much if I can move like a person and not like a robot. But the 3DS itself, it's a small device, and if you have big hands, then it's going to. Every time I play the game, it cramps my hands up.
Yeah, I mean, it does a little bit to me, but I didn't struggle with it as much as you did. I found that the interface on this was pretty good. I mean, there is some touchscreen controls, like you might have a circuit panel that you'll open up with you can actually just use your fingers. You don't have to get the stylus out. And you can, there's sort of like a little simple puzzle that you do to like rewire the door to open, and as well as choose items, etc. But overall, I found the interface pretty good. Now, I do know that GameStop sells this add-on controller thing where you can connect it's like the Deep Pad Plus or some crazy name,
yeah.
And it gives you another analog control stick, and maybe it makes it a little bit more comfortable with some trigger buttons. And this game supports it, but I didn't have that, and I actually was able to progress through the game really well without it. But I do agree. The 3DS is small, and anytime you got your fingers sort of locked onto those controls, man, it just kind of tires you out after a while. You get like hand cramps and all that.
Yeah, I can't. As much as I like the game, I want to play it for more than an hour sometimes. I'm having such fun with it. Excuse me. Yeah, I sound like I'm turning into a zombie. Mayday! But I can't play for very long because it really does hurt my hands. But it says something about the game that I want to continue on because my hands will be hurting sometimes. And you have to kind of keep going because they have very sparse save points. I don't think there's any place, at least I couldn't find anything in the game where it allowed me to just go and save my game at leisure. So you're kind of stuck in going until the game decides to save itself.
Yeah, I mean, you can always just close it and resume, though. I mean, as long as you keep the power going on the 3DS, it's no big deal. I also, wanted to say that the storyline is interesting. It's not just another Umbrella Corporation zombie outbreak. This is like a new experimental virus, I guess, that they were using on like the aquatic creatures and things. So it's got a different angle. If you're a Resident Evil fan, it has just a different approach to the story than the other ones, even though you have a lot of the familiar characters and everything going on with it. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, it's funny. The Resident Evil universe or the Resident Evil world is turning into a place of like super terrorists. Like people in this world, people don't use bombs or they don't kidnap people and try to behead them or anything. In this world, people their terrorism is creating monsters. It's just like, we're not going to even, like they show one thing where guys talking about, hey, listen, if I don't get my demands met, this is what I'm going to do. And you see him next to a fish tank and he starts lifting something over the fish tank. You're like, what, you going to feed fish? What are you talking about? He put something in that tank and these fish turn into like goddamn super piranhas. It's like, don't let the Taliban get a hold of that shit, man.
It was like when I was on the airplane crashed in the Arctic board and you're fighting those dogs and things and they're like, obviously they were transporting these things in these cages and I was thinking, I just killed like 1,000 of those things. Would they fly in with like 1,000 of these mutant dogs on that plane? No wonder it crashed. It was crazy.
Even though I think it would really be cool if you saw like Paris Hilton walking down the street with that Chihuahua, and the Taliban just pressed a button, that dog just turned into a big creature and turned on her ass and ate her. Now that'd be kind of cool. That's kind of terrorism I endorse right there. But all these bitches walking around with these animals as accessories, but.
They all just go mutant all at the same time and just start tearing shit up.
Yeah, exactly. If I don't get my demands, man, I'm going to turn every Chihuahua in this country into a man-eating creature. Fucking go ahead, man. Please. You got no argument from me. A note to Capcom. You're not helping the games when you have the characters react to scary situations like this is nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
you're right.
You're inside this one room in the ship, and creatures just coming out of the cracks left and right, and that main guy who's he's coming at you, he's relentless, and you're thinking the character's going to be like, oh shit, man, help me, get it off me, they're not like that. They're sitting up there like, well, I don't think that guy's the same guy he was before. Yeah, no shit, he's not. Come on, he's not going to be calling anybody right now.
Yeah, the history of bad acting out of these games continues even in this one. It's one of those things where they could certainly use a little bit more tension built up if these characters were a little bit more believable.
Oh yeah.
I also want to just touch really quick on the 3D aspects of this game. I'm one of those people that the 3D doesn't bother me, but and it's really good in this game. It really comes together. But the nice thing about it is if you're not one of those fans of 3D, you can shut it off and it actually turns the anti-aliasing on. So there's actually a benefit of having it off because it cleans up all the graphics a little bit and makes it completely playable either way. So if you're one of those people that frowns on 3D or whatever, there's still a lot here for you to play.
Oh, yeah. No, I turn the 3D off, man. I don't even play it with that on there. Another thing, in addition to bad characters, bad hair. We got one character in here. Hair is bright Ronald McDonald fucking red, and half of it comes down the side of his face. And you're telling me that this guy is some sort of mercenary? I mean, that don't
right.
work, man. But who's he a mercenary for? McDonald's, That don't make any fucking sense. Come on.
I have to report into Ronald.
Yeah.
But you know what? The weird thing is about this game, too, is like...
I have to report into Ronald. I'm sorry. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's the crazy... you finish like a mission, I guess, and it does this recap. I don't know if that's all the Resident Evil games or what, but it does this recap. Like I'm watching a TV episode. I'm like, I did this. I don't really need to see the film version of, previously on Resident Evil. I'm playing the game. It just happened. And I don't understand why they're doing that.
I don't understand either. Kevin, I was going to ask you. I didn't know if you knew more about this game than I did, because I was going to say, is this some sort of load screen? Because okay, people, the game is set up in episodes, and I kind of like that. It really is a simplified version of the Resident Evil games that we play on consoles, but it's like playing a more advanced version of playing a Resident Evil game on your cell phone. Like I said, I played Resident Evil Degeneration on my iPhone, and this seems to be like I said, a better, I guess, sort of a more sophisticated version of it. The gameplay is better. They've streamlined the controls a little bit, even as much as I hate them in this game. And they've and the game actually moves a little faster too, and it looks better than anything you play on your cell phone. So don't expect this to be like a full blown out Resident Evil game that you play on the consoles, because you can't even do things like in the Resident Evil games. You find green herbs, red herbs, yellow herbs, and all, you can mix them together. No, you only find green herbs in this, because they want to keep the game moving. They don't want you to sit around mixing this stuff up. And so the game is broken up into episodes. And I like that. I like that they're self-contained. It makes it easier to get through the game if you just want to try to play through one episode to get to the other. But at the end of it, if you cut the game off and come back to start another game later, or if you don't continue, you come back in and it says previously on Resident Evil, and it's like, you're right. I'm playing a game. This is not a TV show. And you can't click through it. You can't get out of it.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's just a weird thing. It's just I don't know how else to explain it. It's just like it's not that bad or anything. It's just odd because it happens like every, if you're playing the game pretty consistently, you're going to get through a mission in about an hour or so before you can move on to the next one. And, it's just like you just played it and you're getting like this recap, like you just reloaded the game or something like, but I don't know. It's weird. It's weird Japanese shit, man. That's all. But it's overall, man, though, I still think this is a really great game. I really think this is probably my favorite 3DS game, bar none right now.
And that ain't too hard to do either. So, I mean, come on. Look, I know we put in some praise for this game, and we've gone in and also put in some complaints. But overall, it balances out to not only a really cool 3DS game, but it's a great Resident Evil game when you look at it. And who would have thought that it took a system like this, a handheld 3DS, to make one of the best Resident Evil games that we've gotten in a long time. That is probably going to satisfy fans of all types of this series. So yeah, listen. The game is only $40. Go ahead and buy it, man. Seriously, it's cheap and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll even give it a better than sex myself. I just think that it's probably one of the better Resident Evils that I've played in recent memory. It's a lot of fun. I go back to it, and I just, overall, it's just fun, man. It's just a fun game, and I just like the adult experience for once on a Nintendo console. I feel like a game that's rated M for mature and all that. It's overall catering to me and my demographic, and I just really kind of enjoy it.
Yeah, it kind of took me back to how I felt about Resident Evil 4 when it came out on the GameCube. I was thinking, wow, we're getting all these cool Resident Evil games on the GameCube. Because you remember they came out with the Resident Evil reboot or remake, and then Resident Evil 4 came out. Like, wow, okay, go ahead with your bad self, Nintendo.
Yeah, and for relatively a first generation engine from Konami on the 3DS. And being that the 3DS is so young, we can only hope that they'll continue to tweak it and make better ones, and maybe improve the acting a little bit in the future.
Yeah. I want to ask you something real quick before we wrap up the review.
Yep.
What do your characters do for you? Like your AI characters? Because I don't ever see them. Like they shoot at these creatures, but they don't ever kill these creatures. By the way, there's no zombies in zombies. Who am I, Chef from South Park? There's no zombies in the game. You only fight these creatures. I think they're called the ooze or something. The game is just full of mutated creatures, so you don't really get the transformed human beings as far as zombies go, the traditional zombies that is. But in the game, your AI characters, they're shooting at these creatures. They never take them down. And they never die. Like I thought, okay, either they're gonna help me, and maybe that'll make the game a little bit easier for me, or I'm gonna have to like stay where they are, not exactly escort them, but just stay with them to make sure that they get some backup and don't die.
Yeah, it's like they're firing paintballs at the zombies or whatever you want to call them. They hit them, but it doesn't do anything. Like you can count how many bullets it normally takes you to like fell one of these things, and it's like you'll hide behind your partner and he'll just sit there and he'll miss half the time, even though the guy's like right in front of him, and then like he'll hit him and it just doesn't kill him. It doesn't do anything, and you're just like, all right, apparently it's I get it. They want you to fight the monsters and not these guys, but then. What the fuck are they there for? I don't need them.
Exactly. And plus, I walk in, I can't tell you how many times I left them in a room because I was like, shit, you're on your own, man. And I walked out and I heard in the next room, I heard, and then they just walked out the room and like they weren't hurt. The monster's still in there. I'm like, what did you do? Were you rearranging furniture in there?
Yeah. It's like she left. All right, now you make noises like you're kicking my ass, and I'll start pounding my fists on these boards right here.
Let's fuck with this bitch, man. Come on.
Yeah. Oh, she caught us shit. All right.
It's been 38 minutes since Chris and Jessica dropped off the radar.
What the interpolation from their last known coordinates puts them?
Right here on the ship. Where are you, Chris? Parker, we've got contact.
These things got to Chris and Jessica?
I hope not.
Get! It's time you learned the truth, Miss Valentine.